Okay, Yositini. Any thoughts or questions at the beginning?
Uh, uh, if I want to say where you are, okay, is it Gusuk Ye Yeti or sorry Ye Yeti or Guk Su Ye Yeti?
Okay, so if you're not going to use the verb, you can say Gusu wa'et or Gusu yuhon. So that one is Gusu. And so Gusu is a combination of it's having the gu plus sa, gusu wa'eh. And a lot of times you'll say gu sa, but the sa just kind of becomes su. And so that's one way to do it without a verb. But if you've got a verb there, gu sa ye'iyeti is the best way because you're going to want to have the on the answer. So I might say, like if I'm on the phone to someone, I could say, Fred Meyer, I'm in Fred Meyer. Or I could say, so it's wherever that is with that suffix on there, which is to reside or to be located. And so what we remember with those suffixes is it goes on to the gu part because the sa is the second question particle. And then whatever type of, we end up with a type of motion depending on how we're asking that. So gu sa would be like, where are you located? Gu sa gud, where did you walk around at? Gudesa, where are you going? Gudachsa, where are you coming from? Gunachsa, where are you going through or along or via? Like if we were standing there and we were trying to get someplace and there are these two different ridges of the mountain that could get us there, I might say, which method are you going, along which path or, via, which one are you going to take? And so then you would choose. So, but gu sa ye'iyeti would be how you'd ask that question. Gu sa.
Are we going to talk about the sentences that you sent us at all? Or are we till after break?
Probably after break. I sent you guys a whole bunch of sentences to break down. Although if you have some burning question, I wouldn't reject it.
I was just curious on what the un is.
Wait, which one?
The top one, yeah.
Oh.
I was like, what? I mean,
I think it's another way to say. Let me look at that. There might be another way to say on. Yeah, so I sent you guys a list of sentences to at least translate. Don't dig for the answers because they're all pulled from various common sources, but work with it with using the resources that you have, dictionaries and everything, and translate it into English. Then also break it down. And so the other side of breaking things down is putting things together. So we'll practice a little bit of that tonight, and then more breaking down. I guess I like taking things apart more than putting them together. But I think it's because when I was young, my father was a technician at a phone company, and he would bring us home all these things to take apart, but he wouldn't ever bring us a whole bunch of things to put together. So we would just, and I would take it apart, and then I would try to put it together, and I'm like, okay, it's not going, and I'm just going to take something else apart. So that's probably where I get that. But the putting it together part is really important, because what we're trying to do is see how the taking it apart thing shows us how fluent speakers put these things together in their mind. And the more you learn about Tlingit language and grammar, the more amazed you become by fluent speakers who they just do this stuff, and it's just really phenomenal. And then you'll see it, the songs make more sense, the speeches make more sense, the stories make more sense in terms of the variety of things that are going on in there. Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, here we go. So we're going to take turns.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, whoop. Sorry. Can I read my little thing for you that I wrote, or do you want to do that Tuesday?
Yeah, okay, good.
Oh, okay. Hopefully. Okay. Quanlin kunak kuata yidat ka cha yego genk dlate dak usitan. Stakat ye dak yakunatain. Yidat stakat tak kutaij. Chunask tak dak tlek minus dakhunjin kat. Koa 1990 tlek kuwuta. Chatlak minus dakhunjin kat. She tlek dek dis wuti kayis. She ya Tlingit ani kuwata. Yakutan kuk wata hat tuati. Kuteni ak tuwu ke guksagu. Kua yuk hajik. Masakuyati guksa yeyati. Did that make sense?
Oh, yeah, Tlingit yakun ain ya Tlingit ani.
Yeah.
Donald ko aye ya waka tag yak away. Juna ko Testlate whose hunch questions Chayego Genki ya December. Ya Kash minus Dasa kat talk Kanak. Fairbanks so what Kash has Ausatin ya minus Dahun Jinka Shukwa Aya has Ausaku. Heshkus art ya the kat talk.
I did a read late UG.
Yeah, well, Fairbanks Duckley, Hasakausaha, Ako at Gay Dakus Tan Kayat Gay Anchorage. Ya Juno Yidit Seattle Yachati Echwaji Hakwe Kasaye Kuti Aya Hawaii has to in the Tansu Ha Ayanach Kuwat Ayake as Konach away Kutan Aya Ayanach Kuwat Ay Kutan away. Yeah, 2005. Yeah, Dasa you did you, huh? Shingetani Yakunetain again. Get away. Sit aya kukwasla. Sit gukasla. Yehwajin. Yak away. Wait. Sit sit away. Dakde yanashin. Chalk away. What Cajun hundred talk shoe wichin. The cut ya ark quan kach away sit claim. The cut at with it eek. You get ko at like a data yetahotank. Ya shingit ani ya kanakwat hosaku. Kuwat ha pussy art. Ako you that cash hehosaku what haji eatik yeti and ya shed the henny at cut the gunch. Ya has the cut at car to nach the cut at way. Daka hiti a dach away. A car test sugar away yet singit ani. Hehosaku was a at kokane ko a ani kach. Yata to shed the henny at Keuja took the cut ye day. Keuja took clean away like kach enough way nuclear ye. A dach away ya kunach ni clean. A dot away daku satan. Chu wa ya hadaku satani aya kunach na ki at away uchja tin away shedehini at hakanach at away what ya cancer aya kana seems the cut ha 2 day the cut ha 2 day ya has to in of at so way Hachunki has na ki ayi at a tsape do a sago at Tlingit to Katangitin. Ya ha in a kawanik a da Tachwasa ya ke away tsak to echi tsa isiku get tsak to echi. Ya away like kach enach mero. Kunachas it was a good what sich tsak to nach aya. We take a key out with ha, du clief, du jeet, kausatan, we what sich tsaki. Be away, tesh has aus a kawahash, ya hinyachet hier ko at to echi, kasi ye at ha has to do go tai away shit the henny at way data niku ya heart to heart aya yisiku gwash on goon data away with saw hasawa and shit the henny at a tuch way hechosaku dasa a tuch ya they call clean way heavy metal say do something at your way it's the cut way. Has to toss a goon, kadana, ik, a kausahanuch. Should the heni attin ko it keshush yin, a kach, the cut ya singit ani kach. A kak good a cook wada, ha 2 day, which is a kut the cut at ya singit ani kach. Ha 2 day cook waha. Get a watch away how to a suku, it twitch the on till the cut you think it on a kach. We punana at was kuku achina kawani. Keshach to ashko achahini, you think it on a kach. At your way think it ani, I get just the cut think it ani. A da ya do the nay. Ba kashach to ashku achin ach ehini a kach. Yewe ach tundetani yata da. So get the cheese. Anybody else got a conversation? Any thoughts?
Katuasigu Kingis Shantu Hat.
Okay.
That didn't make much sense. But all those tlagu an, cha tlagu tehyahayi, cha tlagu klik, kukwati on gachlaku. All those old sites are going to be gone for many thousands of years. The ones down at sea level coming.
Ewa. Was dak kukwata kunakawe. Ya ka ayanach tletsin ya isja away hakach kukwata. Hakach yek kwati. Ayanach tletsin away way. Akanach yausatani ka ayaudati. Ajawe yakunatain the Tlingitani. Yehwaji. Hatsu aya askatu ya askwani haskak kwatagan ya hekukhu adachawe ya askatu kakwatagan Yehwaji tsu atskini. Hayak was chakut khat aya hachande kukwak was tuna kastakat ya chakuta yes the katas adut satitua sagu saatihin adat aya has to kachtuch watanknich khat kwani kunachawe has to sagu saatihin Kudach get I at Koash the Katwahin, Wash Chakot Yede, Haskakok, Echwasaku. Okay. There's
one Alaska Hintok Hootsie Teak Etinach Yati Klich Teak Edat Hoochawe.
yeah, what? Haskokasha Achaway Teak Kanachas Atloon, Kunachaway Sa. Ya, Question Ichaya Kukwasha Aka Kidzi Kunachawe has to Pusti. Kidzi Kunach. Ya Shetihini at Aya Hutchkas out Ligech. Ya like Hotch, Chalk away, where Khas, Shetihini, where Hoots, Hatakuchi, Coach. You did Klash Hatua Oshko. Quest a yanach away, Quatash, the cut Ani Kach. Shetihini Ku has to Toasagu has to Anitsu. Aka has to Toasagu, ya. Askatu achasaka wachash ya has ausatinse hoots dasa ayanach shiki at achasaka wachek ajoy has a wajak kashat achtuashka kaya hinta hoozi ya kushechwa khatina khasiti kunachawe ya kashtik Kastituasagu Yanachawe, Watsich, Hagwas, Shingitsu, Hasnachlun, Ya Hintakuzi, Aka we ka aya has akwa we hind hakuzi. Ajawe achto sugu kadain has latin. Kadain has kachtu latin owa. Has de kach aya kachtu lagao. Wash we the cut ya at katu adi ha at kautigi at. Away which is a cool. Has to at was school who aya nech away klatzin. Just the cut at which is a cool ha ani da. What at was school who aya haji wu at away has how to woos has latin so has to latin. Ha dasa has a khanuch dasa has a khanuch. Yisatin we hoots. What you khik aya with the tune. Aya kone awaset hatu au the tune akakaya yausene. Ajoy what is a cool knock away with heart. Kashiek the hini at what is a cool at go to adi adach. Ajoy yet lekach enough responsibility ye do a sago at. Ha ye jini aware. Has akach has gach to days ye away ach to a sugu. Ya chet the hini ko ka ye ya waka. Kashwasa o teacher shugo away just the Tlingit ani which is a cool aqua attack. Ha at school kunach away yes. Ya ani away has latin. Ha dasa teacher shugo at dasa teacher shugo at. Kunach ayawe video tin ye ya waka. Yet the cut ye yak that Kwan has also kuku sa has to asaku. Out the quat where Kate Latich. Maka your heart away Kate Lati has out the quat the cut where Kutan Kanach where Kutan Koa Kash Akhe has uti Kash Akhe has uti Kash Ak has cow has out the quat too. Ha wasa atune wanach sa way ya has to ya sits Kitchet ye do a sago at Kitchet has also kukunach go sa has to wasaku out like what a dark day a yanach dark day has out like what ah wanach sa wet shugu ya kutan kunach isja kunach ye khati kanach ye kunach a yanach kit a yanach dark day wada we keys has also kukunach Chuya shikade has also teen wasa at kukane. Achawe jaanowe yidat has kachtushatin. Aka has the panuku away hain has akakone wasa at kukane wasya at kutu adi. Hanach has also kushin gitani. Okay. Sheesh.
Nashish.
Okay. All right. So we did a little bit of this, and we're gonna run through a couple drills, and I'm gonna ask you guys to do some of this stuff on your own. So we'll do some object combinations, some subject combinations, and then I'll ask you for some various combinations on your own. So this is what happens when you start changing the object. So we'll start off with being dirty, and there's another L classifier one, I think. It's a plus D. So you could say it's trashy. So that would be the verb root for that is also a noun for trash. But this one is cheikh, which means discolored or dirty. I'll say this, and then we'll all repeat, and then the next list we'll send it around, and you guys will have a chance. So the things that we're watching for is how is the prefix changing. So we see some contraction going on, we see some things disappearing, and really what's happening is it's being affected by a vowel being right before it. And we also see the farther we get from the root, the more things that we attach, and khat is detached, the more it sort of affects those types of contractions. Again, the way that we write them and say them, khat as an object is written as its own word, and because it ends with a consonant, does not affect the verb. I and ha, or I and ha and ye. Ha and ye are written separate, just to keep the verb from being too long, but we see that they do cause contraction, although that's not always the case, because I'd say kesh ushke, kesh ishke, kesh yi ushke. So in that case, the yi and the ush are separated. So it's sometimes you get different sort of combinations. We also take a look at the classifier. These are all being plus I classifiers. And we look at, once we get the mode, this is telling us the verb is short and high. These will all be short and high. So really what we do is we learn how to say this verb in the perfective, and then we can change the object for all of these. And these are really important to be able to change the object so that we got the object correct. Yeah? So repeat after me. Khat wushetech.
Khat wushetech.
Khat wushetech.
Khat wushetech.
Ilsetech.
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 Wushetech.
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 Hausetech.
Hafetech.
Hausetech.
Hafetech.
Yilsetech.
Yifetech.
Yilsetech.
Yifetech.
Haswushetech.
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 Kusetech.
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 So the perfective is there, which changes the shape of these things. So we get ew and how and you. So these are the things that happens. Also the p tends to, it goes long with the W there. Okay. This chart, what it shows you, and this is from Crippen, is sometimes the classifier will be a -I classifier, especially with sh and sa in particular, and those will change, and also sh. Those will sometimes, the A will get contracted out if any of these things are immediately before the classifier. So this is A themed, or it could be an A third person object, and there's nothing between that and the classifier. The aerialis, na, ka, the perfective marker, daqa, which is each and every one of those, and then du, which is the fourth person subject. So those will cause contraction. It's just something to watch for. For now, we'll go back to here. And so here we're going to see this contraction taking place here. It's a sh classifier, but it turns into just an L. So this is going into the negative perfective. So you have klesh, plus the object, plus the aerialis, plus the perfective marker, -I classifier, and now the verb root has gone long and high.
Kekhatwushchew.
Keshatwushchew.
Kekhatwushchew.
Kesiwushchew.
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 Keswushchew.
Kesiwushchew.
Keswushchew.
Kesiwushchew.
Keshawushchew.
Kekhatwushchew.
Keshawushchew.
Kekhatwushchew.
Kesyiwushchew.
Kesiwushchew.
Kesyiwushchew.
Kesiwushchew.
Keshaswushchew.
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 Keshkuwushchew.
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 So you also see with the, a lot of times you don't see that there's an aerialis and a perfective in there, but then you'll see it when it doesn't contract as much. Iwush as opposed to iush. Hawush as opposed to haush. So these are just some things that happen. Instead, the contraction happens in this case in the classifier. Okay? So now we're not dirty. So now we go into the progressive imperfective, and then these are objects, and so as far as objects, these are things we might change as well, as far as learning, or well, learning would be a subject. Growing, perhaps, is one that you might change the object pronoun for. And so we're looking at the O when we start changing the O in here, and the object is the first thing we think about. I was in a class and they were talking about linguistics. I think I told you guys this. And they said the majority of languages are like, they go subject, verb, object, and then there's this other combinations, and they said 0% of the world's languages go object, subject, verb. They said, we are the 0%. So I don't know if it's 0%, but it's very, very low. There are very few languages that do this. And so we'll practice the object first.
Is it absolute zero, or is it like 0.001?
It's got to be 0.0 because we exist, right? I was like, can't you put like 1? Can't you say 1%? I always round up to 1%. Okay. So here now we're going to have ya, which is showing us the perfective. And if it was a g conjugation, we would have k. If it were a q conjugation, we would have ye. Then we're going to have the na built in there, which is the na mode. It's not the conjugation prefix. And that is also going to cause the classifier to contract. Ya khatnash'ekh. Ya khatnash'ekh.
Chak Ishan.
Ya khatnash'ekh.
Yachatnashech.
Ya innash'ekh.
Yachnashech.
Oops, I said that. Ya inshach'ekh.
Yachinchachech.
Ya nash'ekh.
Yanashech.
Ya nash'ekh.
Yanashech.
Ya ha nash'ekh.
Yahanashech.
Ya ha nash'ekh.
Yahanashech.
Ya yi nash'ekh.
Yani.
Ya yi nash'ekh.
Yayinashech.
Yas nash'ekh.
Yasnashech.
Yas nash'ekh.
Yasnashech.
Ya has nash'ekh.
Yahasnashech.
It's optional. A lot of times when you have ya and has, you're just going to get yas, or yes, or case. Ya kunash'ekh.
Yakunashech.
Ya kunash'ekh.
Yakunashech.
So again, we've gone short and high. Okay, now we're gonna get dirty. So, in the future, the stem is always gonna be, it's always gonna want to be long and high. For the positive future, long and high is how it's gonna want to be. You're gonna have g, u, and q. which is going to create longer combinations, but it actually tends to be pretty predictable. You get a lot of iguchla and guchla things going on. So, somebody didn't underline that one. Chatguchla cheich. Chatguchla cheich. Iguchla cheich. Iguchla cheich. Guchla cheich. Guchla cheich. Haguchla cheich. Haguchla cheich. Yiguchla cheich. Yiguchla cheich. Has aguchla cheich. Has aguchla cheich. Guchla cheich. Guchla cheich. Okay, so we'll shift gears a little bit for a few minutes here. Zeush made a document that shows a whole bunch of different combinations of objects and subjects that you might see. But for now, I would like to give you, and let's see, I'm not sure how many folks we have online. Yakdad Kuninachsawe Johan.
Dag nacht, Johan.
Okay.
Uhan.
So I'm going to tell you something in English. The root or the verb is going to be the imperfective positive form of love, which is object, subject, si, the SI classifier, khan, and it is short and high. Okay? So sikhan is how all of these are going to end. So I'm going to tell you in English, and I would like you to try to conjugate this verb in Tlingit. So it's not going to change to future or perfective. It will always stay in the imperfective. Okay? And we'll go Nichiesh and then we jump online, and I see Siaten Kuwuch or Ichki Kuwuch, Kwanlin, Yaukda, and then we come back to the right side. And if you don't know, you say Achiti Dishe, and somebody will help you. No pressure. I love her, him, it.
Yiskhan.
No.
Tuskhan.
I love him, her, or it. So what would be we're going to have object, subject, and then sechan. So if I love it, the object would be it, or him or her. So that would be which one? Johan?
We're saying it.
Yes, that's correct. It's the zero, and then I as the subject. Okay, so let's just revisit real quick. No worries.
Achshan would be I love myself.
Shchadzachan would be I love myself. So we should get and we'll get to that. But so I love her, him, or it, and I guess we should jump here real quick. Let's see.
Tuskhan is everything.
Yeah, Tusachan is Oh, let me find it better.
Looks like a
So we'll jump to Zeus real quick. And let me move this so we don't get the infinite screens. Okay. So backing up, we should review pronouns real quick. And so here's what we're dealing with: object and then subject. So we're gonna put these combinations together. So we go first person singular, first person plural, second person singular, second person plural, third person human or non-human. And when you get to the object and subject, it doesn't matter. They're all third person. We're not worried about these ones, but we do have the fourth person human and the fourth person non-human. And those are the ones we're going to work on. The reflexive would be to love myself, and that's going to make the classifier plus D. So it would be sh, and that is the object pronoun for the self. Okay, so going through, in English, we would have me, us, you, y'all, him or her, people, something. Okay, so that's how these are going to translate. And we're going to have khat, ha, ye, zero, or if these are both third person, it would be a. Ha or k and ut. So in this case, to say for a I love myself, that would be shchatzechan. So you wouldn't have that combination. I love us. Ha chasechan. I love you. Ich sechan. I love you all. Yich sechan. I love somebody, or I love him or her, or it. Chasechan. I love people. Chusechan. I love something. At chasechan. So we're going to see how this contraction is taking place. So, and then we can get these combinations going with cha, tu. So the subject, cha, tu, ye, zero, and always zero, do. And you can't have a something. Something can't do something. People could do things. That's how Tlingit logic works. So we'll keep that up. Those of you online, you could find this document, or you could look at a number of different sort of pronoun sheets that we've been using to have the pronouns handy. Do not look in a certain book where some of the answers to the questions we're talking about are. Okay. I love her, him, or it.
Chasehan.
Chasechan. Then it's chinish. And now we go down to Washington. I love them. Kubuch.
Yep, I'm thinking. Hold on.
Okay.
I got nothing. Sorry.
Eshwasa. Siyanaka achite deshe. Tuiti deshe. Anyone?
Has.
Uh,
Hasechan.
Has chasechan. So the only thing that changes is we put the hus in front of it, and that hus must pluralize the object because hus can only pluralize the third person. Yeah? But that is also the only way to pluralize third person. So, chasachan, I love him or her. Hus chasachan, I love them. Okay? Okay. So hus exists kind of outside. It's the farthest to the left. It's like a distant moon that rotates around. And so it's a tricky one because you would say hus ha sachan. You could say that. They love us. And the hus comes first. Okay. Okay. Cheat woo. I love you.
Oh, echt zeggen.
Okay. Gonna cheesh wa atzich sachan.
Kega.
Titala. I love y'all.
Yichaschan.
Yich sachan.
Yich.
Sachan.
Yichaschan.
Okay, so we're also going to work on this contraction and looking at it, how it works. And this will, same thing when we say, I see you all, it's good to see you, it's good to see you all, and we'll see how these things tend to smash together. Okay. Yapdat shukwa aya. I love people.
Suya Yanaka.
I love people.
Ka Ichsichan. Oh,
Okay.
Chasichan. Sorry.
Ka
Ka
chasach-
Chasichan.
Okay, ka chasachan. Another way would be kuchsachan. You could say that either way. Ka chasachan, kuchsachan. Okay. Ka yakdat. I love something.
חסיכן. את חסיכן.
At chasachan, yeah, away. At chasachan. Benachish.
Anko Ish Yadu.
Okay. Anku ish. We love her, him, or it. Oh.
We love him or her.
Yeah, we love her. How about that? Or we love it.
Oh. Tusichan.
Tusachan. Tusachan. Okay. Okay. Just tusachan. Right before it is the zero. Tusachan. We love him, her, or it. It can only be the A if it's he or she loves him or her or it. But if it's me or us or you or y'all, that zero, that object will always be a zero if it's third person. Chasachan, tusachan.
The object is being loved, and that be put before it as it's just at tusichan.
At tusachan, we love something.
Just it.
Not it, something.
Okay.
So at is different than the zero. The zero would be him or her or it. The something would be like, it'd be like saying we're kind of in love with just something. Or maybe it's a weird thing. I don't think you would ever really say it with this particular verb.
We weren't born in the 1960s, so.
Right. So that might be like maybe guash hippie ayakach to sa Yeah. Atsechani. They love something. I don't know what and it's just something. And so it's this unidentified thing. And we'll see more the way it functions, but it's not the third person. It's not it.
It's not.
It is zero unless the subject is also he or she. Okay. We love them.
I have a question. Okay. So when I call on Krish my love, okay. Chesichan.
I would say ach sachani.
Oh, Chesichan. Okay, that's what I call it.
S-A_X, high tone A-N-I. Ach sachani, my love. Right? And so chusachan is love of people. So if you said ach chusachani, that would be you're referring to your own love for human beings. Right? You might say ach chusachani chetsin. My love for people is strong. Or you could say chusachani ketchuste. His love for people doesn't exist. Achawe Darth Vader sati. That's why he's Darth Vader. So we'll take a look at these ones that we've done. We'll do one more, and we'll take a break, and we'll do a whole bunch more. But I think we got to practice kind of doing these things just so we can start seeing how the pieces fit together and how we can sort of practice putting them together. So we look here, and we've got I love her, him, or it. Chasachan. Zero, cha, se, chan. Because the zero doesn't count, you only have two things before the root, so there is no contraction. Cha, se, chan. They fit together. Block, block, block. But same thing with has, chasachan. We've added has, but that exists outside of the verb and in the preverb. So we just have two things here. Even though there's three, one of them is this invisible. The third person is always a zero, unless there's a third person subject and it turns into an A. So what we try to think about is these things as sort of defaults. The switch is off, but then sometimes we go and turn the switch. Now if we have I love you, ich sachan. Now we do have contraction because if we look to the left of the root, we have 1, 2, 3. That's our magic number. So out of I and cha and se never contracts, I never contracts. So cha, the A has got to go. Ich se chan. So this is what, and so sometimes when we're sort of we're learning Tlingit, we might say echasachan, which is fine. We're learning how to block things together, but now we start learning how things contract. The same thing with ye. Ha is not really on here because I'm trying not to. This one, you could say ha-sachan, but that's weird. And that's that might go reflexive. And you could also say, shchatzachan, I love myself. But that's a bad thing in Tlingit. So you could, like this is like say there's somebody who just posts selfies all day and they write about themselves and they're just doing stuff all day and like talk about themselves all the time. You might say, shchatzachan. And it's not a very nice thing to say. So it's not in this set of examples. So there are certain combinations, but really what we do is we go third person singular, third person plural, second person singular, second person plural, fourth person human, fourth person non-human. And then these are all the same, first person singular. So we've got cha, 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 cha. So ye, even though we write it separate, it's kind of connected to the verb, but it's really just because it ends. Like, if I would say, I love you already, I'd say, dech sechan. So the day, it means it has already happened. and that would cause contraction here. Or adech sechaniyeh, the way I love you. So just this preverb ending with a vowel will also cause contraction here. Yi cha sechan. The cha must contract. Chach sechan or chuch sechan. You could say it either way. I think most speakers would probably prefer chuch sechan. Same thing. The ch can't contract, the se won't contract. So the cha. Atcha sechan. And then we go back. So this next set is going to be basically identical, except the t is not going to contract in the same way. In fact, and this is the thing of contraction. Like if you have, well, let's see what's next. Well, if you had one here, it's not going to contract the same way because you can't contract. You can't just say it's a chan. You can't do that. So the t does not contract, and so you'll see there are certain combinations where there's no contraction that can really happen. Okay, let's take an 8-minute break. Oh, we love you. We love you. So chet would be we love me. Which, you could say that, and I, you know, maybe there's some like I don't know why. Like that's you're always careful because these things could just seem like you're bragging or they get into this weird Tlingit
Is
territory.
it the same? It's connected, so it's chatuskan.
Well, so you've got cha, which is me. But we've got to get to you, second person singular object right here. Second person singular object, first person singular subject. So tu
So
etusachan. Right. So looking at these different charts, and this is what we're really, you know, we've got these different charts and we can memorize them, but the other thing is learning how to use them. So if we say, oh, well, I want to say, I'm happy you guys love me. Right? And so again, we got to be careful because, you know, when I was trying to elicit this from speakers, they would not say, we love me, and they also would not say, you all love me, or you love me. They didn't like that. They're like, why would you say that? I said, well, what if you said, I'm happy that you love me, or I've gained strength because you, and they're like, you're kind of assuming, right? So, but when I convinced them that this was really just an exercise, they loosened up a little bit. But again, we're always trying to be careful so that it doesn't look like we're bragging. But so here's our objects. Chat, ha, I. So you could say, ha, yisachan. You all love us. And so when we think about the English is backwards. So we have to sort of make sure that we structure this and that we're always thinking object first, subject second, verb last. We've got to keep pushing ourselves to think that way. And it's not unusual that it's hard to put these things together because we've got to manufacture this language enough times that it becomes just natural. So we can say, I see you, I saw him, I saw her, we've been seen, things like that. And there's different things. You do all of this with these pronouns. And we're really just focused on a smaller sort of set of them. Okay? Sheesh. 8 minutes, come back. There's more love. There's love, 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 love. Don't look at the answers, though. It's in that one chapter. Don't look at that one chapter. Got eyes everywhere.
I wonder if they're done on the house floor.
What's going on there?
to budget. Everything out of budget. People have been there till like 1 a.m., 1:30.
Right. Jonathan's like, you want to get together this week? I was like, how about now? How about this time? It's like, well, it's in a meeting at 8 o'clock. Start probably be done at 10 p.m. Like 8 in the morning.
So we're gonna get worse from here. Let's check to see if they're done.
I'm so excited that we did spring break this coming.
Yeah.
I probably would have run away if it wasn't spring break. I would have been like, okay guys, tired, break. Like, it's been kind of a really weird semester.
I'm like, are they really only? What? They're only on.
Are you saying they've been having meetings till like 1 in the morning?
No, people.
Or
have
just
worked.
individuals, yeah.
People have been. Well, yeah, House Finance yesterday went from 1:30 in the afternoon to 1 a.m.
It's disgusting.
No.
Oh.
Well, right now they're not really. They're doing amendments to the budget. What are you eating? Have some. What is it?
Thai curry cashews. I don't know. I don't really taste too much, but I know. Rainbow foods. Sometimes, sometimes I don't want to stay here between classes, so I go downtown. So I have like an hour before the bus that I have to get to be here on time, and I just go to Rainbow Foods and buy random stuff
I love Rainbow Foods.
in small
You buy
quantities
what?
because random stuff. In small quantities because everything's outrageously expensive.
It is really expensive.
If it wasn't so far from us, probably shop there more.
It's really.
Costco's getting more organic stuff.
I feel like it's
Where
like
do you go to
a little commune. Like they should have like houses and look like sleep there. Because it really affects that kind of
They really do have that
crowd.
Yep.
Tiny parking lot. You've got to really be going there to go there.
It's a hippie country.
Atsakani. Atsakani Hundaki.
Sometimes I
They have so much money. They must have like tons.
they make good coffee,
I wonder.
good bakery.
Okay.
They're still going. So,
So your internship is Uch? Whatever?
Like, you're like,
You're
no,
done with
the
Thursday,
seminar class.
Oh, okay.
The seminar class.
Oh, so you guys seminar classes on Thursdays? What does that mean? Your internship for the out
Yeah, it was Thursday. We had like 3 days together.
Didn't you ask me something recently?
I don't think so. I told you that I listed you as a reference
Oh,
for my
okay.
resume, just so you know.
Oh, and yeah. So it's interesting. So, yeah, I was responding to Reed at one point, because there was an idea of trying to get a Tlingit name for the next fair.
Oh yeah, that was it.
And so I was compiling a list. Well, first I wrote this email that said, well, this is kind of silly because we don't have very important names for most of our glaciers because they're not really important. Not that they're not important, but we name things, the places where we get food or really cool things happen have the coolest names. Other than that, like, there's nothing to eat on a glacier, but you can traverse them, and there's big important things that have happened. So, but I was going to make a list of glacier names and send it to you guys. So I'll see.
Yeah, well, the competition has to be submitted in the essay form by a current grade school student, and it's due
Was it still
in
open?
5 days.
Right.
I think Reed or maybe Jonathan asked Chuck at the Secret Tribe, and I think he and Heather were, when Heather was still there, were working on it. But Jonathan sent out like a urgent email update to a bunch of people like, you should do this, and I click a name for the ferry, and Chuck sent a response and he was like, well, most of the names are sit claimed.
Sit
Why
or
not?
sit claim.
But I liked the name for the Hubbard Glacier, which is Tasa Sit. It's pretty easy to pronounce, Tasa.
Just set the list to.
It's the glacier up the Yakutat Bay, the head of the bay. The Thornton book doesn't have a translation. Maybe it's Eak, maybe it's Athabasca, maybe it's Aleutian. I don't know. But
So I was thinking, you've got these place names and translations and things, and then there's stories in native languages that has references to behaviors and physical identifications. And I was thinking it would be a worthy study to look into it. And although most people who have passed away that really have knowledge on how things work around here, it's still hidden within the language. Because I'm getting tired of being told that there's no value in this scientifically. And for me, even anecdotal stories has a scientific value. It sparks curiosity for it to go underneath that rigorous testing of if I do this, will that happen again? Like, but even just place names like the Whetstone Mountain, that's got to have some geological factor there.
Yeah, and there's lots of knowledge tied to place names. Just
Tied
we
to
gotta
place names, and then there's
tie
this-
ourselves back to that point.
the stories like the Reagan and the whale, where he starts cooking things up and the smoke comes billowing out of its blowhole. To me, that sounds like it's a way of telling kids this is how you identify what a whale is. Because if you take a picture and you see it blow out of the water, what does it look like? It's like smoke.
Yeah,
So
You should send the list to Lyle. Because
Okay.
I think he works
Oh,
at,
and yeah,
yeah, like
Yaku's.
yeah,
Okay.
and not
And then I think their
Thorn
daughter
Valley.
too.
Yeah, I'll send them.
And, like,
I'll make a
Yes,
list.
what, there are two ferries that are being built. One is being made by students who are like K through 8th grade or something, and the other ferry is going to be named by a high school student.
Um,
And it's open to the entire state, but, Alaska statute says the ferries have to be named after a glacier. So,
Must be named after a glacier, which is usually named after like
and
Mike
it-
Hoyt too out Tutzing.
Oh, yeah.
Because he works at Thunder Mountain. He's teaching English this semester and something else, but you could incorporate that.
Yeah,
And their
hey.
spring break isn't until the week after coming on, so.
Okay, back to business. I love her, him, or it. Chasachan. Chasachan.
Hasachan.
I love them. Haschasachan.
Hasachan.
Haschasachan.
Hasachan.
I love you. Ichsachan.
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 Ischachan.
I love y'all. Yichsachan.
Yischachan.
Yichsachan.
Yischachan.
I love people. Kuchsachan.
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 I love something. Atchasachan.
chocolate.
Atchasachan.
Hasachan.
Yeah, and the specifying noun could go on either side. Kate chasachan. Chasachanayadi. Right? So this, the noun does not matter. It's not part of the verb itself. It's built, what's built in though is that pronoun. We love her, him, or it. Tusachan.
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 We love them. Hastusachan.
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 We love you. Itusachan.
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 Hey. Yiitchuaha. We love y'all.
Ischachan.
Ye. So back to our little handy dandy chart. Ye. And then we is tu. Ye plus tu plus se plus chan. We love y'all.
Hastusachan.
Ye
Yi.
tusachan.
Tusachan.
Ye tusachan.
Yi tusachan.
Ye tusachan.
Yi tusachan.
Ich ki kuwuch. We love people.
Yichsachan.
We love people would be tusachan. Kutusachan. Kutusachan. Huh?
You want us to repeat? When you say that?
Oh, sure.
Here we.
Kutusachan. It would be a weird thing to say, but it could be said. Eat woo. We love something.
At Tusachan.
Atusachan.
At Tusachan.
Yeah, what? Sitala, you love her, him, or it.
Yischachan.
Isachan.
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 Yeah, what? Yaukdat, you love them.
Suya Yanaka?
You love them.
Has Isachan.
Has isachan.
Oh, gosh, okay.
Isachan. Okay? Okay. You love them. Has plus 0 plus I plus sit plus chan. Okay. Yalkdat. You love me. Nisakuke. Khatisachanke. That's another good one. Khatisachanke. Do you love me? Okay. Okay. Khat isachan. Correct. Yalkdat. You love us.
He said, Ha Isachan.
Ha isachan. Yeah, away. Ha isachan. Okay. Uchke. Yalkdat. Naskia. Naskinach. Okay. You love people.
Kuisachan?
Good guess. Kisachan.
Oh, Kuisachan.
Kisachan. Okay. K plus I is ki. Yakitsike. Yakitsike. You could say kitsiti. You are existing. Something you are doing. Okay. And we'll look at these once we go through our lists. We'll come back and we'll see the different components that come in. Again, you love people is kind of a weird, I don't know why you would say that to somebody, but maybe you would. You love something.
At Isachan.
At isachan. Okay, at isachan. So going back through the you love her, him, or it. Isachan. You love them. Has isachan. You love me. Chat isachan. You love us. Ha isachan. You love people. Kisachan. You love something. At isachan. Okay. So now we have done me doing it. Ha. You doing it. I. What is the subject pronoun for y'all? Yeah. Yeah. Y-I. And we also did tu, which is us. Okay. I am cha. We are tu. You are I. Y'all are ye. These are subject pronouns. Subject pronouns. Ye. Okay. Y'all love her, him, or it. Just go ahead.
Yischan.
Yisachan. Okay. Yisachan. Ich ki kuwuch. You all love them. Oh. Tashesachwaach. I don't think you unmuted.
So, yeah, Yannicka, was it
Oh.
you all love them?
You all love them. I didn't hear you.
Has yisechan or
Has yisechan. Yeah, Has yisechan. So yisechan, has yisechan. Okay? Okay. Cheat woo, you all love me.
Hat Yisichan.
Yeah, away. Was that in somebody's like Oscar speech? They said yeah.
It sounds like something
Hat
Donald Trump,
yisechan.
Yeah.
Chepa hat yisechan.
Donald Trump would say that.
Right? So again, I don't recommend you say this publicly, and I would deny that I ever taught it to you. But yes, chat yisachan. So, because chat ends with the consonant, it's not affecting it, but you do have yisachan. So, Sisala, you all love us.
ha yisechan.
Ha yisachan. Yeah, aware. Ha yisachan. And so when we have the second person plural, y'all, as the subject, we try not to say ye, but we say ye. The object is ye, but the subject is ye. Okay? Yaqdat. Y'all love people.
Yisichan.
Ye'oweh ku yisachan. In that case, it goes long because the ku makes it long. Ku yisachan.
Could you say please?
Yisichan.
You couldn't say ki yisachan because ki would be
Or like please?
it would be ye because you can't drop that y. There are instances where that first y gets a little bit lost, but if you say qisachan, it sounds like you're trying to do q plus I plus y, or q plus y plus I. So a lot of times it sounds like you're trying to put the perfective in there, because the perfective would be like okay. Yaqdat, you all love something.
At yisachan.
At yisachan. At yisachan, okay. Yaqdat, she or he loves her, him, or it.
Sechan.
It is close, but it is missing one thing.
Asachan.
Asachan, ye away. You cannot have a zero and a zero. If you have a zero subject and another third person object, it must be a. So on that note, she or he loves them, or they love her or him, or they love them.
Has asechan.
Has asachan, right? And there's no way to tell which one. It could pluralize the object or the subject or both.
But if he said like has asechan, then it'd be
You would have to have the has outside. You'd have to say husch away. Has asachan. You couldn't husch. You can only hus. You can only ch on a pronoun outside of the verb.
Okay.
But you could say hooch away has asachan. or yesh awe hasasachan. Raven loves them. Right? So there are ways you would use the ergative marker to specify. Like you could say, where ya at nesquenich hasasachan we kuatletu. Again, I'm getting myself in trouble. There's probably some horrible thing that's going to happen to me again. Okay. She or he loves me. Okay, so you're on the right track.
Or
The A converts.
Or-
The A goes away.
because it's not two, so it'd be
Yeah.
chatsechan.
Chatsachan, because you can't have chat and ah. Well, there might be weird cases. But chatsachan, right? So the A has become chat, and the 0 stays 0. Yeah. Okay. She or he loves us.
She or he. Hasasachan.
Ha
Ha,
is us,
us,
and then he or she loving. Sechan. Ha sechan.
hasachan.
Ha sechan. Okay. Ki kuwuch. She or he loves you.
Would it be? It would be hasichan? It wouldn't be atusichan
Or
for they, or
they're doing. Oh wait, he or she is doing the loving.
for the first one.
Wait,
Would it?
she or he loves us. Ha sechan. We love him or her. To sechan.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that where
Okay. Never mind.
we love ourselves? Ha tutzachan. Because we're terrible, full of ourselves.
Okay. I said atusichan. Is that a thing? Okay.
It's ungrammatical.
Okay.
Because that with the letter A, no, because that it would only be there for the third person object and subject. So then I think of it as 0, but then if you're like, oh well, we also have a third person subject, then you got to turn the light switch and convert it to A. And it's tricky because a lot of people do this. They'll just, and as you sort of practice these things, once you start speaking Tlingit, you start throwing these different, and then or you feel like there has to be something on the front, but there already is. So ha sechan. A lot of people say ha isachan or ha chasachan. We can say ha chasachan, but that's weird. I love us. I guess, I don't know why. I think it should be ha chatzachan. Anyways. Where did we leave off?
Sorry.
Okay, so we did hasachan. Oh, ich kikuwuch. She or he loves you.
Isachan.
Isachan, get away. So he or she loves you is isachan. You love him or her is isachan. They are identical. So that's another one that you have to take care of. You know, wa'ech away isachan. You're the one who loves him or her. Huch away isachan. He or she is the one that loves you. Okay. Chikwu. He or she loves y'all.
chatsachan.
He or she loves you all.
Chatsachan.
Yahweh. That's correct and incorrect at the same time.
Yisachan?
Yisachan, okay, Yisachan. Salah, she or he loves people.
Tlingit.
Okay, Chusachan. Chusachan, okay. Yaqdad, she or he loves something.
At-Sikhan.
At-Sikhan, yeah, oh wait, At-Sikhan. All right, we're going to look at how these things get put together, and then we'll keep going. So there's lots of possible combinations, but if by like verbalizing these things and then coming back and looking at the pieces that are there, I think it helps us to figure out how to put these things together. So we started with etusachan, and you can see the translation of it. So etus, they just block together. Yitusachan, kutusachan, atusachan, isachan. Oh wait, so those are all the we doing things. Now we're going to switch to you doing things. You lover, you. Isachan. Has isachan. Khat isachan. Ha isachan. Ki isachan. At isachan. And so it's tricky. We got to train ourselves to always think object, subject, verb. Object, subject, verb. Always have to do that. And the pronouns don't go away. So in English, the pronouns are sort of, they pop up and then they can go away. Like I could say, he loves her. But then I can say, Johnny loves Jenny. I don't say, Johnny, he loves her, Jenny. But if you think of Tlingit works like that, where you don't get rid of the pronouns. They are always, always there. Okay? And then we had, I think we did that one. So now we get to y'all. Yisachan, has yisachan, chat yisachan, ha yisachan, hu yisachan, at yisachan. And now to the third person, where in the first two examples we have the A, but then it drops after that. It has to be 3 on 3, or else it drops. Asachan, has asachan, chat sachan, ha-sachan, isachan, yisachan, kusachan, atsachan. So going back through here, you can see the different components that are there, and then also how they get put together.
So the sit is the classifier?
The se is the classifier, and it's not going to change in any of these examples.
Okay. So there must be a mechanical way of putting these things together. Because you only have so many slots.
Yeah, right. So you have these slots like the root. The root is there, and the classifier is there. Right before that, and so we're going sort of to the end, to the back. So if we look at these things backwards, we have the root, then we'll have the classifier. Immediately before the classifier, we will have the subject. Then we will have any sort of conjugation prefixes, then thematic prefixes, then the object. That's how the verbs work. And so here, there's nothing in between the object and the subject, so we can see. And then we'll add a couple things in between.
Is there any suffixes that can or cannot be put on the end of this?
Suffixes could, like you could say, ich zechanen, I loved you, but I don't now.
What I'm getting at
Mhm.
is putting together a rotating thing with locks on it.
Yeah.
That prevents you from actually making ones you can't do. You can do that in a couple of languages that haven't had a full live outside influence.
And that would be a nice thing. Then you can just like take a verb on there.
Right. Well, these combinations, they'll be the same.
They'll be
And
the
then you
same.
get to the classifier, and you change the classifier in the
Classifier
root.
on the root.
Right? And so like you could say, shikan is to hate. So now we could say, etu shikan.
So how would you say you
we
love
hate
hate
you. So we'll start here. So we say, I love him or her. Et chashikan. I hate her or him. Has chashikan. I hate them. Ich shikan. I hate you. But and so it's just an example because we're after this we won't do the hating, but you could, or you could any verb could substitute in here. There might be other business in between for some of them, but otherwise the patterns are going to be the same.
How would you say you love to hate? Which is more of a complex idea of putting these
Right.
things together, right? So
I think you would say, I don't know if you'd say you'd love to hate me, but you'd probably say, you're happy to hate me. Again, not a very nice
Nice.
thing, but you could put, it's just an example to show how we love each other. So that's another one is whoosh. It pushes the classifier to plus D, so we get z instead of se. Whoosh to zekhan. Okay. So we can see how these things get put together going through. Oops. I don't want to give you the answers to the next one. Any other thoughts or questions? Who went last? Whose turn is it? Hmm? One more Yaktat? Yaktat. They love me. They love me in Yaktat.
خط هالسخن
Siyayalaka?
خط هالسخن
So the hus is the
أس
furthest
خط
thing.
سخن
Hus is like Pluto. Everything is in between Pluto and, I guess, the sun. I don't know, is the sun the root? What a lame metaphor. Hus chat sechan. Yep, so the hus is always on the outside of the object and the subject. Hus chat sechan. And there's only one way to interpret that because it can only pluralize a third person. Right, so they love me. Okay. They love us. Has ha sechan. Okay. They love you.
Okay, wait, I'm a little bit confused. So the hus is always going to be for this. Would it be? Okay, what was mine? I just got confused.
Was that like 3 questions in a row? Because I'm confused now. So hus is always the most outer thing in the verb, basically. There could be things on the other side of it, but for these exercises, when we're talking about objects and subjects, it'll always come first. So then hus, they love you.
So hus isachan?
Yeah, away. Hus isachan. Hus plus I plus 0 plus se plus chan. Okay? They love you all.
Hasti Sikhan.
Has yisachan. Okay. Ki kubuch. They love people.
Haskasachan.
Yeah, away. Has kusachan. Okay. Chiwu. They love something.
Has Atzachan?
Has atzechan. Okay. Okay, the double mega bonus round. We're going to use fourth person human, which is going to push the classifier plus D. Salah. He or she. Oh,
Like we need like flashing lights.
Yeah.
Dramatic music.
Yeah.
daily double.
Do, 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 do,
She
do,
or he
do,
or
do,
it
do,
is loved.
do, do. Sorry.
Zichan.
So the pronoun would be, the subject pronoun would be du.
Oh, okay. Du zichan.
Ye away. Dudzechan. Dudzechan. He or she or it is loved. Yakay. Oh, kashyat hasyapta. They bailed on the bonus round. Oops. They are loved.
Hastutzachan.
Hasdidzachan. Okay. I am loved.
What if cut did the come?
Hadidzachan. Get away. Okay.
So does the do stay on there because it's somebody that's loving you?
Yes, and that turns, it just means the verb happens. That's really how we, like, "Bututliyech." Hachiyes bututliyech. It was made for us. That's just the default way to say it happened. Somebody did it, doesn't it just saying it happened. So the way that you could translate this as people love her or him. But really, the way we think about it in Tlingit is like, she's loved. He is, I am loved. You are loved. We are loved. So, we are loved.
Hadisachan.
Hadidzachan, yakei. Kuwuch, you are loved.
Idudzachan.
Ididzachan, yakei. Chitu, you all are loved.
Yidutzichan.
Ididzachan, yakei. Sisala, people are loved.
Kuduzichan.
Chududzachan, okay. Chududzachan. So the verbs get long, but when we see that there's these little interconnected pieces, they should flow better. Something's loved.
Hastutzachan.
Atudzachan. Yijin taknai touch kudmach mikecha. So what do? We keep going. Okay. So now we're going to introduce the irialis and see how that changes things. The irialis makes things negative, and this one was so fun. Working with an elder, like his wife was in the next room, she kept saying "Ishan" because we did the positive ones, and it was a love fest. So if we go negative, it's not loving. So the way that it changes is the irialis pops up. So the irialis pops up in between the object and the subject. In between the object and the subject is where all verb conjugation happens. All the conjugation prefixes pop up there. There's also thematic stuff that could be there, and if it's there in the verb, it's always there. So we go from chasechan would be I love him, her, or it. Klesh uchsachan. Klesh uchsachan.
Uchsachan.
Klesh uchsachan.
Uchsachan.
I don't love her, him, or it. Okay? So, this one, the guesses might get a little bit more challenging. But just go for it, or just say, "Echwasak." It's okay. I don't love them.
Hasachan.
Kesh has uchsachan.
Hasachan.
Yeyanaika. Kesh has uchsachan.
Hasachan.
Ke kuwuch. I don't love you.
Slowly working on it.
Okay, okay.
Tlechpasiku.
Kesh ich sechan. Kesh ich sechan. Yeyanaika. Kesh ich sechan. I hope you never have to say that. Okay. Cheat woo. I don't love you all.
Cliff. Yif.
Okay, so a couple things that are going to happen here is the arealis is going to be there. There's times it's going to convert to basically a W, and the classifier for this will always be sa instead of sit. Kesh yuchsechan. Kesh yuchsechan. Yeyanaika. Kesh yuchsechan. Okay, Sisala, I don't love people. Yeah, waka, Oscar the Grouch.
Tlech. Ki. Tlech. Ki. Ki. Sachan.
Kesh kuchsachan. Yeyanaika. Kesh kuchsachan.
Hasachan.
Kesh kuchsachan.
Hasachan.
And we'll finish. We'll go around, and I'll show you how these are working. I don't love something. Kesh at uchsachan. Yeyanaika. Kesh at uchsachan. And you get the mega super double bonus triple round. I don't love anything.
Evil. Evil.
Mm.
I'm not sure how to.
Anybody want to try this one? I don't love anything.
Hasachan.
That would be I don't love him or her or it.
I don't know where
Does
to
it
put
go?
the.
Does it go? Hash at a good second.
Cliff. Dasa. Uchsachan.
Kesh dasa uchsachan. The grouchy award goes to Cheat Woo. Congratulations on loving nothing. Okay, let's take a quick look at how these work, and then we'll be done. Done not loving anything. I am making an Oscar the Grouch meme this evening. Okay, so as far as what we've got here, so what this is showing us is the verb mode, negative imperfective, getting used to seeing these things. The nice thing about this too is it's the verb stem does not change. It's going to be high and short every single time. Classifier has changed to sa. There's a subject, there's the irialis, there's an object, and there's kesh or heish, however you want to say it. So this is what we get. 0 plus plus cha plus sa, uchsach, or uchsachan, right? Kesh uchsachan. When we add the hus there, it doesn't change anything. It pluralizes this object, but it doesn't change the way it sounds. Kesh hus uchsachan. So then we got I plus plus cha, and this that makes the I just go long. Ich sachan. Right? So instead of ich sachan, ich sachan. When we get ye plus the irialis plus me or I plus sa, we get yuch sa, yuch sachan. So we get a little bit of funkiness there, but that's because that irialis doesn't want to go away, so it turns into a W. Here the irialis does go away. If that were a perfective, this would be a OOW, but instead we just get kesh kuch sachan. I don't love people. So the irialis is kind of a funky thing. There are some times where it kind of disappears, but there are other times where it kind of refuses to go. And then the last ones we did was kesh at sachan. And then the speaker that I was working with, Kachwan Ish, he gave me this one, which was the bonus, kesh da sa sachan. So we could do this for a lot of verbs when we say kesh da sa and the negative form of the verb, and that would mean nothing or don't something, anything. Like you could say kesh da sa chojak. I didn't kill anything, right? Or you could say kesh da sa yachwatla. I didn't obtain anything. So usually this negative form of dasa would translate to not anything or to nothing. You okay? Questions? Thoughts?
My brain keeps thinking of the movie, was it not Angels and Demons, the one before that? The little puzzle box.
Da Vinci.
The Da Vinci Code.
Right? Yeah,
I'm
there's these
thinking-
little spinning wheels, and you gotta get these things spinning in your brain, and they've got to go object first, subject, or object, conjugation business, subject, classifier.
And that's what I keep thinking. You turn these wheels and you don't get the word right, the message breaks. So how do we build something that actually works like that as a visual? And that's what I'm thinking about.
Uh-huh. It would be good. It would be good, because then we'd have, the contraction is the only variable.
The only variable,
Right,
right?
because then
But
sometimes, like this one's really easy, but, now that we've introduced the irialis, we'll see how it gets a little bit more complicated, and then what we'll do is we'll introduce some thematic business or a perfective, and this is why a lot of people, they still say, Yak'e echasatini, when it should be Yak'e ichsatini. Eh plus cha plus yu, or eh plus yu plus cha plus se is ichsa. Like if I see you, ichsatin, I see you. And so a lot of, it's, I think, difficult for a lot of learners, but when we start seeing more and more how these little pieces are in there, and how this one is likely to contract, this one is likely to contract, you can take better guesses at which ones. But if you say echwasatin, people know what you're saying. They'll just say, oh, you should say echwasatin. Bekecha. Which way? Village Ushekach to Steen in like 2 weeks? 10 days? Okay. Engaging in a homework done. When we come back Tuesday, you should have all those sentences translated and glossed, and it should be marvelous. And if you haven't done your conversation starter, you should do it that week. And it doesn't have to be anything huge, even if you could only do like 4 or 5 sentences. The idea is just to get us started talking about a topic. Yeah, weapons, Cheesh. Let me know if you got any questions. Which way?
This has been fun getting into for the past year in beginning Tlingit. You've been talking about verbs and saying, we'll talk about it someday, we'll talk about it someday, and now we're there.
Yeah. When I was working on this book and people were editing it, they're like, you keep saying we'll talk about this later. But then you never talk, so I finally just said, I deleted all those stuff references. But when I teach, that's what I was like, oh yeah, we'll get to this, we'll get to that, we'll look at that later. And now we're looking at those pieces so that we're doing more than memorizing, because the problem is people memorize phrases, but then what do you do? What if you have to change those phrases? You know, like what if you don't love them anymore? And then you gotta know how to say that. Unfortunately.
So you just now lost your marketing strategy to keep people coming back?
Ow, man, the hook. Dang it.
Let's talk about it later.
Just say to be continued. Just
Right.
end all your books. To be continued.
And on the next episode of Learning Tlingit.
Of learning.
Well, we don't know how to say you don't love anything. We'll learn that next. Yeah, well, gonna cheesh.